currently unavailable. Oh, we're live.
We're live. It said it was unavailable, but we're here.
Dude, we're live.
We're here.
We're here.
Uh,
We haven't started recording the podcast
nobody's here with us yet, but
I know, but there's going to be, maybe several people that watch after.
Should we send out something that says we're live?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can tweet it. I guess Twitter is probably the right medium for this, eh?
I think so.
Okay. We're going to tweet it. We're going to live stream our tweeting. It's sad. It's just sad what I'm doing. Oh, we got one person, dude. One person. Oh, man. Okay. Let me know when you're done with the tweeting. Dude? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I'm sure.
All right.
I'm sure the number of people tuning in will just jump.
You never know.
You never know.
All right, dude. Well, let's get started.
We're up to 2 people now, dude.
All right,
see?
let's get started.
You tweeted it and our live stream audience went up by 100%. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Hey there, and welcome to the Dudes on a Hockey podcast. I'm Mike. That's Doug.
Dude? Yeah, it's a podcast that I think we hoped would have a different tone. I gotta say, dude, the day after being left at the altar, but not even as the second choice, apparently, as we found out.
The second choice? Who was the second choice?
Well, he said it was between the Leafs and the Islanders.
Oh.
It didn't even mention the Sharks as being
I didn't even read that part.
the second choice, dude.
Oh.
So, knowing that we were
He really wanted to play with Leo
third
Komarov.
choice for the hottest
The bridesmaid.
UFA of the season, dude.
And he took less money than the Sharks offered.
By reports. Okay, well let's get into this for those who maybe haven't followed it.
Those who
by the second
haven't been in the hockey universe for the last 48 hours.
John Tavares accepted a deal to go home and play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep.
I think when he tweeted out that photo of him sleeping in Toronto bed sheets, you
kind of got to understand.
I understand. I think the thing that
I'm still mad at him.
Sure. Well, I'm not mad at him.
I am. I'm mad at him.
I think the thing that, well, we can get into why we might be frustrated about it, but I get it. I think that the reports that I certainly bought into of him not wanting to play in the pressure cooker of Toronto were things that I bought into until apparently Patrick Marleau talked him into it.
Oh.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. We'll get into the ins and outs here in a second, but Tavares, he ain't coming, dude.
No.
Not coming. Even though the reports are that the Sharks clearly offered the most money. I read even up to $13 million a year. They were willing to go the full enchilada for him. And he still chose to go to Toronto, which is the power of going home, dude.
Dude, I blame you.
Why?
Because I said on this podcast a long time ago that there was no way that he was coming.
Yeah.
And then you have to come onto the podcast and you have to convince me to get my hopes up, which I did.
I know.
Because of you.
Dude. I got my hopes up too.
And now I feel disappointed because of you.
Sure. Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Would you rather be the Florida Panthers who weren't even in the room?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, the fact that Doug Wilson was in the room, got a meeting, was by all accounts being considered as an option. And even though he gets spurned every time, he's going for it.
Maybe he has bad breath.
No, dude, no. I think this has everything to do with playing in the Bay Area, which is so funny that that's not a selling point, but for hockey players, I think it's not a selling point.
Right.
And we've seen this time and time again that star players, when they're either drafted here or traded here,
they like to
we've
stay.
had good success with them staying.
And the second point, we'll get back to Tavares in a second, but obviously the segue from that is the Sharks signed 3 players.
Yeah, that wanted to stay.
They've
been a part of this organization and have extended their time here.
Right.
So you can see how valuable that is. And the Players Tribune article that Evander Kane wrote, this glowing review,
it's nice,
about San Jose, the organization, and why when he finished that last playoff game, he knew that he was going to come back. I think that Doug Wilson was hoping that, and the timing of that article is just brilliant, by the way.
It was brilliant. I thought it was definitely a clear.
Oh, come on. It was so brilliant. But that even all of that, and the fact that the Sharks might have been able, or by reports offered the most money, they still didn't get the player.
Yeah.
But they were in the mix, and I'm glad that they were, and I don't fault them for trying. And I also don't fault them for missing out on some of these other guys, because I wouldn't have been stoked about 3 years, $23 million for Paul Stastny.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that deal. I don't think he's that good.
No, I don't either. I'm with you.
And you know what? There were other players I think that we were interested in. James Neal, JVR, you know, but clearly, and I think the Sharks' backup plan was Kovalchuk, and he didn't want to wait. And so they were all in on Tavares, and they knew that they were going to miss out on everybody else. If you want to be frustrated about the process, then maybe you should be frustrated about the fact that Tavares knew that the Sharks were out, and by all reports didn't tell them. And maybe if the Sharks had a chance to get in on some of these other players, they could have, but I don't think they would have.
Hard to know. It's really hard to know. I do want to give a shout out to our YouTube watchers, dude. We tweeted out. We finally did some promotion of the live stream. I'd say it's going pretty well. We got some people on the live stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say thank you for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Ian. Ian, great to hear from you.
Yeah, it is.
And
Ian, longtime listener.
I know. Yeah. Been here from the beginning, I think.
Way back.
Yeah.
So, dude, since the comments are on the far side of the screen, which I can't see from here because I'm so far away from the computer, I'm going to need you to read them in case there's anything interesting.
Ian's been here since episode 2. I mean, Jacob agrees with us. Looks like we've got Booker in there saying he loves the show. I shouldn't assume that Booker is a guy. I mean, after all, there is Tracy.
Who emailed us, and we get her wrong every time.
Oh, Tracy, we love you. She is our favorite listener.
She's very loyal.
And Jacob agrees. Then glad they didn't overpay for a slow vet, which we've seen, you know, some really strange. I mean, you look at how the Dallas Stars reacted to not getting Tavares by signing a treasure trove of nobody. Like they just were like, well, we have all this cash. Blah!
Eric Condra.
Take it. Yeah. Take it like it.
Please, Eric Condra.
You know, it just, I'm glad the Sharks did not do that, and that we can get into where we think they're going to go from here, and what the plan may be. But the Sharks right now have added no players to the team, and it doesn't appear, based on the unrestricted free agent list of people who are left, that they'll be adding anybody of any significance, because it seems that Doug Wilson's goal is not to just add a role player, but to add a significant difference maker. And I don't see those players left on the free agent market, dude. They're not there.
They're not there.
And they're going to have to turn to the trade market again, where they've been, as a franchise, fairly successful. And I think that, you know, there was an interesting article. I think it was either LeBron. I think it was LeBron, who loves the Sharks, wrote about how, the big game GM.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the Ryan O'Reilly article. We talked about Doug Armstrong's not afraid to take a swing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he lumped in a couple of other GMs who are not afraid of the big move. It doesn't always work out, but they're not afraid of the big move. Doug Wilson, David Poyle,
right?
Steve Yzerman, right?
Yeah.
Not afraid, like to go for it,
go get it,
and be wrong. Like, I mean, and they're gonna go for it. This was a calculated move. The money was saved to make this effort, and then it didn't pan out.
Right. How disappointed are you, dude? I mean, we talked so long about how this wasn't going to happen, and then ended up being right. Are you really disappointed?
I was disappointed.
Yeah, I was too, because it seemed like we were like the second choice.
When
we were there, we were in the
the thing that made me
finalists.
Nick Kyprios put out a tweet saying that I think he was speculating that the possible holdup might be that Lou Lamoriello was trying to work out a trade with whatever team was going to sign John Tavares so that Tavares could get the extra year and the Islanders could get some sort of asset back for the courtesy, right?
Right.
And in my mind, I thought, okay, Kyprios is pretty plugged in. If he made that tweet, maybe he knows something. And there's no way in hell that Lamoriello is going to make that deal with Toronto.
That's right.
No way. He's not going to enable that.
That's right.
But would he do it with San Jose?
Yes, he would.
He might.
Yeah.
So I thought there was when I really started to think that it was actually possible. And reading the Evander Kane article and just thinking all these warms and fuzzies.
They pulled out all the stops.
Yeah. I did. I bought into it, dude. I thought it might happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed in Doug Wilson. I'm disappointed it didn't work out. And I'm glad they tried.
I don't think there was anything else he could have done, right? If you look at it in hindsight now, I mean, he tweets a picture of him as a little kid in Toronto Maple Leaf sheets. I mean, there's nothing we could have done.
And I think that's the difficult part here is if the Sharks weren't ever really in consideration, I wish that they would have just said that instead of leaving these teams flopping in the breeze. But then on the other side, the agent side, Tavares' side, that gives them no leverage then against the Islanders and the Leafs to get the best contract that they can. So it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And I understand. It's disappointing.
And Tavares got an interesting contract. He got what he's making like very little money the first year, and it's all signing bonus.
Well, Logan Couture's is very similar.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge signing bonus. And how is that? Dude, I don't understand what the benefit is. Why structure it that way?
So I did some research into this because it's very strange, right? It's like in one case, he gets a $15 million signing bonus and a $1 million salary. But the cap hit, of course, accounts for all of it, right? So the cap hit is however many years the contract is divided by the total, or the total amount of money the player is going to make divided by the number of years of the deal, right? So if you make $15 million and $14 million of it is a signing bonus, and it doesn't matter in terms of cap hit, but here's where it does matter. And this is why they do it this way. It's for the buyout protection. So having the deal that he got with Toronto protects Tavares from getting bought out.
Okay.
Because the buyout is based on his salary and not his signing bonus. So if he makes $14 million and his salary is $1 million and they buy him out for $1 million. And their cap relief is like $300,000. But he still gets paid $15 million, right?
So at the end of the deal,
right,
it protects him from getting bought out.
At the end of the deal,
right,
it's buyout protection for the player.
Sure.
So it's advantageous to the player and not the team. And so these big players, they say, I want to make it so you don't buy me out.
Okay.
And the player gets less money in that case, right? The player only gets 2/3 of his salary spread over double the years or whatever the rule is. But the player actually makes literally less money.
So there's no advantage cap-wise to the team. None.
It's a disadvantage to the
Right.
team.
Okay.
It disincentivizes the team from buying the player out. And
Got it.
it seems like that's how players are getting more certainty, because seems like we've seen a fair number of buyouts. I mean, the Sharks did a buyout this year. A lot of teams are buying out some of these contracts. And I think that's why David Clarkson hasn't been bought out, because I think his deal was like that too.
Okay.
So that's sort of an interesting wrinkle that I had to do a little bit of digging. It wasn't too hard to find that information, but a lot of these, I finally found an article that just says, "Oh, this buyout proves John Tavares' contract." And I'm like, "What? What does that mean?" And so I had to figure that out. But that's the reason. That's the reason. So they don't buy him out, dude. We're getting a
lot of comments here.
Getting some good comments. What do we got?
Oh, I mean, I there is some big free agent talk here. Boogie Cousins come to the Warriors. I mean, this is just. It is.
I have to say, I wanted to start the show by touting the big free agent signing and then reveal it was Boogie Cousins instead of John Tavares.
But it was pretty hilarious.
Doug didn't want to go.
No, dude. Dare you?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, LeBron, welcome to hell.
Welcome to losing.
Yeah.
Dude, Brooke is a guy.
Thank you.
It's Brooke or Brooks.
Yes. I mean, Kristen with a good point. If we feel burned, how do Islanders fans feel?
Yeah.
Pretty lousy. Pretty lousy. They should have fired Garth Snow a couple of years ago. Does this change the free agent culture in the NHL now? From Sleepy Mofo.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's the rich get richer, right? People want to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But is this the closest thing that we've seen to like a Kevin Durant type situation where, John Tavares has joined? Is Toronto the closest thing to a super team that we have right now, where you've got no, with all those young players?
They have young players and they're good players, but they're not proven. If he went to the Penguins and played with Crosby and Malkin, and then they signed Erik Karlsson, that would be a super team, right? These are good young players that could end up being great. But this is a team that still has some significant defensive holes, in my opinion. And I'm not alone in that, reading
right.
5 minutes after they signed Tavares, you get articles like, okay, who are they going to trade to get an actual defenseman? Like, seriously.
Yeah. Oh, that's an issue.
They're not the Golden State Warriors.
No, but they've accumulated quite a nice little treasure trove of forwards there. And
no doubt
that they're in a position where they can make a deal here, to improve that team, and we'll see how they do. I mean, we're talking about the NBA, so I'm laughing at all the moves the Lakers are making right now. It's hilarious to me. LeBron goes to the Lakers. They renounce their best good young player, Julius Randle, so they can sign Rajon Rondo, who's a total tool.
They signed Rajon Rondo?
Yeah, so they're surrounding, like, it's LeBron has now the Ball family, Rajon Rondo. Welcome to LA. You're gonna lose in the first round, my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're done. Whatever. It's just funny to me. That honeymoon's gonna last just a hot second. He'll be back in Cleveland in a year. No, he won't.
Did someone say they're in Tokyo? I can't read. I'm sorry. I don't want to look like a tool, like always like bending towards the monitor.
What's up from Tokyo?
Wow.
Yo, Paul, what's up from Tokyo? Sweet.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Are you there on work, Paul? Do you live in Tokyo? Give us the scoop.
No, actually, wait. Yeah, I actually be early.
He's on the subway right now in Tokyo. That's awesome.
Good broadband.
It's the first time.
Good broadband.
First time on YouTube ever having a discussion in the United States with someone from Tokyo.
That's cool.
I love it. Ward says you cannot be a super team if you haven't won a cup in 50 years. That is true. That is true. How angry are you that the Eyebrows himself from San Jose, his home in San Jose, convinced John Tavares that it was okay to leave his first and only team?
I'm not going to begrudge him that. The Sharks didn't sign Patrick Marleau. They chose not to sign him for...
But the irony that it happened, like, he had the conversation from San Jose to talk him out of coming to San Jose.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to talk him out of staying on the island, right?
Right.
Whatever. Good for you. I hope you break your legs, John Tavares.
Right.
Good for you. Okay.
I'm not going to hope they win the cup.
No,
I'm not going that
absolutely not, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Let's talk about where the Sharks go from here. All right. They've done some housekeeping, right?
They go into fourth place.
They've got, dude.
I know.
Come on, dude.
In the West, not in the division.
No, but okay.
Okay. We'll talk about that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Sour grapes right now.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay. So yeah, you won one Vegas bet. Now you think you know the order of how everybody's going to finish? One Vegas bet. This guy. Oh well, the Sharks will finish a 4th player, so definitely gonna select Carolina on my first.
We should have signed Leo Komarov like, instead of the Islanders.
Dude, what is the next move? Like, what is Plan B from here?
Plan B is the trade. The only name that I can think of if the Sharks want to make a splash in terms of the forward core is Max Pacioretty, which we talked about last time. I just don't, I'm not sure what the plan is, right? Because to get a guy like Pacioretty, you got to give the Canadians something. You got to give them assets, right? This isn't just like assign a guy. And we certainly don't want to go out and try and get one of these guys that, if we look at the free agent tracker, there's no blue chip names left.
Right.
And so the last thing I want to see the Sharks do is go sign a 2nd or 3rd tier player and pretend he's a 1st tier player.
Well,
we don't want to go get Lee Stempniak and say, hey, he's great.
So, I mean, I think that there's a couple of routes they could go here, right? They might not do anything again until the trade deadline when Montreal is balls again. And then they're dealing with a depressed asset in Pacioretty who's going to be unrestricted.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Doug Wilson strikes then. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. There were all kinds of reports that the Sharks were close to a deal with Pacioretty. Then everybody starts backpedaling. I think they have definitely talked.
Sure.
And that there may be some framework in place. This is classic Doug Wilson. Pacioretty had his worst year last year. He just switched agents.
Mm-hmm.
It reeks of tanning lotion, doesn't it? It just reeks of Doug Wilson, that he's going to swoop in there and get Pacioretty for below market value because he wants to leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's got 1 year left. Montreal needs to get something for him before he leaves. Just wouldn't shock me at all if that's the move that they made. And then they had a year to convince him to stay. I mean, if you want a 30-goal scorer, there's a pretty damn good one. Another one that by all reports is available is Jeff Skinner, who is a pretty darn good player who also apparently doesn't like to play defense or back check,
right.
But didn't get along with the previous coach in Carolina, but is apparently available. But you would think the price on Skinner would be pretty high, right? You just look at what Buffalo got for Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, they got a 1st, a 2nd, a really good young player or like a useful young player, and 2 veteran players that are NHL players, but probably more of a salary move.
That's a ton.
It's a ton.
That's a ton.
For Ryan O'Reilly, who is, I mean, he's a 60-point center. I mean, he's a good player, but he's not like a star.
He's not John Tavares.
No. So
I'm glad the Sharks didn't make that deal. Let's put it that way. Jeez. That's a king's ransom for Ryan O'Reilly. Sure.
Dude, let's quickly look at we're getting a ton of comments here. Very active YouTube viewers here. Mike is always a pessimist. You're absolutely right. Sharks should try to interest San Ramon's native son, Austin Matthews. Maybe he has some Sharks cheats that we could get some photos of. Anyone have any photos of Austin Matthews doing anything that we can use to get him to come?
It's a good idea.
Someone says, hey, faces for the voices. I hope you're not too severely disappointed. Obviously sucks to not get Tavares, but Sharks are still very competitive without him. Hard to convince a guy not to follow his childhood dream. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's difficult, to get somebody to not stick around or go back home. Right. So,
dude, Doug, I think I read a comment on the blog. I might be misrepresenting it because I don't have it right in front of me. But someone said that they thought that Doug Wilson putting out a statement saying thank you to John Tavares and his agent for, acting honorably as part of this project. He thought that was sort of like a suck up move. He didn't like it. What do you have any opinion on that? I didn't really find it that objectionable.
No, I didn't find it objectionable.
I can see how that might rub some people the wrong way. It's like, thanks for making us losers.
Yeah, I think that the important part of that statement was near the end where he said, it's clear that the best players in the league consider San Jose a, valuable place to
Right.
play. I think he's making a statement there,
Right.
basically saying, we're here. We know we provide a great environment for players. And just a reminder to everybody else that when Tyler Seguin goes UFA next year and Panarin goes UFA and we still have this money, guess who's going to be ready?
That's right.
It's going to be Doug Wilson.
Right.
So, and that gets into the other part of this question is he just going to wait? Is he going to wait again and take a swing for Seguin?
That was my next question.
Now, maybe he waits. I mean,
because that would be,
because I wouldn't give the Blue Jackets anything for Panarin right now. Like, because he's basically said he won't sign there, right? Based on the meltdown that Tortorella had. Do you think he's right now cursing out Jack Johnson and Panarin?
We'll get to the Jack Johnson thing in a second because that was
priceless. I mean, those are the types. I think Doug Wilson wants a player like that. He wants a Seguin. He wants a Panarin.
A legit difference maker.
Should we? I mean, we read the reports that the Sharks were talking to Ottawa about Erik Karlsson. Yeah. I mean, should we be discounting that at this? Would Ottawa even dare do another deal with Doug Wilson?
I don't think they would.
Do you think they've caller ID blocked him?
I think they would. I think they changed his nickname on the phone. So when it's Doug Wilson calling, it doesn't say Doug Wilson. It probably has like a couple
an
curse
expletive
words.
Yeah, maybe. Ooh, that was a bad one.
SOB, it says.
Let me ask a tough question.
Okay.
Since we struck out with Tavares, do you wish that we had kept Mike Hoffman?
Wow, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'm still going to say no. I don't know unless the Sharks did a ton of background on this guy, because it sounded like they traded him directly to Florida because Florida wanted him. And maybe Florida did the background check on him, essentially, and the Sharks didn't. So if the Sharks didn't do the due diligence on Hoffman, then I would say no. And, this goes into another article that I read today that Katie Strang wrote that on The Athletic, and everybody who, subscribes to The Athletic should read this article by Katie Strang about Slava Voinov. And Slava Voinov might be trying to come back to the NHL. And
no one's going to touch him, dude.
And she went into some details, and the details of that situation with his domestic violence stuff are harrowing and disgusting.
People, I don't think anyone's going to touch him. I think it's if you're not keeping a 30 goal scorer because his fiance is behaving in a repulsive way, allegedly on social media, that's different.
Is he going to be in the NHL next year?
But Mike Hoffman didn't do anything.
Right. I don't think it. I mean, I use that as a segue to get into Voinov. But it's not the same.
It's not the same. But I mean, you look at. I don't know. I was gonna say you look at the NFL, how some of these guys, but some of them
say Ray Lewis.
Okay. Well, I know. Well, yeah. Well, you can kill people. It's okay.
Voinov almost did.
Well, yeah, dude. Well, I think a team would have a major PR nightmare.
You're right. I agree with you.
Well, there's the thing in Major League Baseball going on right now where arguably the best pitcher in college baseball did not get drafted because he was convicted and agreed to plead guilty to child molestation.
Yeah.
When he was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
I can see why people wouldn't want to touch something like that.
Sorry, dude.
Oh God.
Oh boy. Panarin watch. Here we go.
Panarin. Yeah.
Let's see what else. Sharks had to take the high road. It's just good business. I really hope they don't give away any resources. This is from Ponder to add players. Sadly, I think this will be Jumbo's last season, and there are more assets to get next year. This season, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I mean, people are agreeing Ottawa will not do anything with. I
have to say though, the more I think about the idea of the Sharks standing pat this year and going after another big free agent next year, the more I like it, because it would really. I mean, he's got a lot of dry powder right now, and you really don't want him to waste it on the way other teams have done before. It's like, we have to make a splash. We have to go do something. Okay, we didn't get the guy we wanted. Okay, we didn't get that guy who we wanted. Oh, we didn't get that guy. Okay, well, we'll pay this guy.
Well, I think if you look at the landscape of the NHL, dude, I know Vegas just made the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay. I do not believe that they can do it again.
No,
I don't
either.
I don't think they can do it again.
They lost James Neal for one.
They lost James Neal. They lost David Perron. They lost Jason Garrison. That's a joke. All right. And they added Paul Stastny. I don't think that that's that great unless they get Erik Karlsson, which I guess is possible, or they give up a ton of assets to get Panarin or something like that. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it again. The Ducks are on the down. I think the Kings are on the down. Vancouver is not ready. Arizona, we've thought they might be in position to be better before. They certainly have made some moves to get better.
Yep.
But I'll believe it when I see it. Edmonton has done nothing. They've done nothing. What have they done?
Yeah, I think we should go into what has happened here in this free agency season.
Right?
I think we've done enough with Tavares and what the Sharks are going to do. Let's talk about some of these other moves. So to recap, James Neal did sign with the Flames.
The Flames have done the most. I mean, you look at how the Flames have remade this team. All right. They bring in James Neal.
Right.
They trade Dougie Hamilton, who apparently is a locker room issue, and they get back two good players in return in Hanifin and Lindholm.
Mm-hmm.
They added somebody else too. I can't remember who it was, but they have
Derek Ryan.
Yeah, Derek Ryan. He's a center, played for Carolina. Good player. I mean, they've added some pieces to a team that we already thought was kind of close, but can they win with Mike Smith in goal? That's
the question.
The question, right?
That's the question. Other teams, if we look at, say the Coyotes, they signed Michael Grabner for 3 years. Michael Grabner's not a bad player.
No, they extended Ekman Larson. They extended Hjalmarsson, right? I mean, but we've been waiting, and they got Galchenyuk.
Right.
So are they going to be better? We think.
I think so.
Maybe, but I don't know.
They couldn't be that much worse.
That's true. That's true.
So they're going to be a little bit better.
I guess if you look at the Pacific, what I'm saying is I think the Sharks were better when Evander came in last year.
Yes.
They've lost nobody of note. They did all that without Joe.
Mm-hmm.
If Joe's healthy.
And they signed Joe.
1 year,
$5 million. What do you think?
So, well,
we were talking about lower money than that.
But I think, but from what I read, Joe would have played, it sounded like, for almost nothing if they got Tavares.
Okay. So they paid him because
I thought that was going to be the deal all along.
Right.
Hey, listen, I'm going to do whatever you can get Tavares. I'll play for the minimum, right? Like, I mean, he wants to win a Stanley Cup badly. So, 1 year, $5 million, I think it's a little much for what he's going to be able to provide, but okay. I mean, I agree with some of the people who are listening right now. This is probably Joe's last year.
Here's the overwhelming headline for the Ducks, dude.
Yeah, Luke Schenn signs 1 year contract with Ducks. I mean, the Ducks are...
The sub-headline, defenseman had 7 points for the Coyotes last year.
He's more stable than Kevin Bieksa, who's available, by the way.
Of course he is.
So, I don't think the Sharks are positioned to be in a bad spot next year, because I don't think Vegas can do what they did. Again, I just don't think they can. So who else in the Pacific got significantly better? Calgary.
Not the Calgary got better.
Which you could
the
say
Stars
maybe
didn't. Yeah.
Well, the Stars, yeah. But I'm not. I think that the Sharks will be competitive. They're a playoff team, and if everything falls in the right spot, they could do well. And I still think there's a decent shot that he's going to end up pulling off some sort of Pacioretty magic trick.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that they signed Hurdle today and not Chris Tierney. The reports are that Chris Tierney, they haven't really been talking much contract with him. Would you trade Chris Tierney for Max Pacioretty?
They qualified him, right?
They did. Sure.
Of course I'd trade Chris Tierney for Max Pacioretty.
So maybe that's something that's out there.
Right.
So that, the Sharks are using Tierney's qualified offer as a trade. Okay, we're not going to, you guys can figure out what you want to sign him to, but he's your property. You can't leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't, if you trade a player who's been qualified, they don't get unqualified, right?
No.
Okay. So,
I mean, they have to assume that offer, right? So they have to pay him.
But then does that significantly weak the Sharks up the middle, where they've said they don't want to play Pavelski at center?
And Eric Fair signed with the Wild.
Right. for $1 million, which I don't think I would have wanted to give him anyways.
I can understand that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm spitballing here. It depends on how ready they think Dylan Gambrell is to play. And we didn't see
or Simic, the other
yeah,
guy.
I mean, if they felt like, okay, I think they wanted to strengthen themselves down the middle, would they take away a strength down the middle to add a 30 goal scorer? I don't know.
Could use some goals. All right, dude. What other moves around the league? We shouldn't go into any team because we've already been at this for too long. But who else around the league? Because I want to talk to the two things I want to hit. I want to hit what else is going around the league, and I also want to talk about what happened after last week. So we need to hit that.
Okay. Yes.
So what else around the league? So JVR, we talked about briefly, went back to the Philadelphia, and he signed for the same salary per year as Evander Kane. Does that mean we paid too much for Evander Kane?
No, I think there's a comp there. I mean, I think, JVR scored more goals than Kane last year. He was on a good team. So can Kane score 30 plus goals on the top line of the Sharks? Yeah.
Right.
He will. Watch.
Right.
It's going to happen. So I think if Kane had been on the Maple Leafs, he would have had the same stats as JVR. So I think I'm surprised he went to Philly, but he must, it's the year of going back home, right?
That's where he started.
That's where he started. So he's going back there, and Flyers are a team that seem to be on the rise. So that certainly makes them better. Definitely.
Anything else around the league happen that
the Ryan O'Reilly trade to St. Louis is St. Louis has added Tyler Bozak. They brought back David Perron, and they've added Ryan O'Reilly. So that team is better.
No doubt
better. When you have Jake Allen in goal, I still don't quite believe in you, but they're definitely better. That Central Division
is nasty.
Brutal. It's brutal, nasty. And we were talking about how odd it is to think that Chicago's the worst team in that division now.
Are they?
Well, are they better than Winnipeg?
They're not better than Winnipeg or Nashville
or St. Louis, Minnesota.
No.
That's close.
Yeah. Wow.
Odd, right?
That is way odd.
So, there you have that. See the James Neal signing. Trying to think of what else. Stastny went to Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting. Tampa extended McDonough.
Yeah. I mean, that's not.
Jack Johnson to Pittsburgh.
Well, the funny thing about that is that Tortorella goes absolutely crazy in the press because Jack Johnson says when he goes to Pittsburgh, who has won several cups, which I think is a perfectly defensible comment. Jack Johnson says, I want to go to a place where there's a culture of winning, and Torts absolutely blows his stack.
Well, I think he actually said it's good to be in a place that has a winning culture.
Right.
And Torts a
freaks out
laden tirade. It was pretty funny.
It's go read it.
Pretty funny.
He calls the GM of the Penguins a quote effing magician, which is my favorite quote of the rant. Go and read it. It's awesome.
Pretty damn funny.
Really good.
Dude, before we get to our final story, which I think is a great way to end this podcast, let's take a look at some more questions and comments here. We've got a hugely active comment thread here on YouTube. This is a great idea, dude, to do this.
It's a lot of fun. It's hard to keep up with this comment thread, honestly.
Ian says the Flames have done the most, but did they really get better? I mean, I think that's a question that we won't know the answer to. Did they just reshuffle the deck chairs, or did they actually add some better pieces?
I can read one of them. He says, y'all need a producer.
Oh, ouch.
Is that a volunteer?
Okay.
Are you volunteering to be
Colin says Oilers are shopping Lucic. Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck.
Right.
Good luck.
Patrick wants to know who's going to replace Eric Fair. It's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Certainly brought in a great addition. I think they seem to think that Barclay Goodrow might be ready for.
But didn't Barclay Goodrow have the opportunity to take that job before they got Eric Fair? I think if Barclay Goodrow was really the answer, he would have been the answer last year.
What a pessimist, dude. Will we see Balsers this year? Yeah, good question. I mean, from Frederick.
There's a couple, 2-3 guys I think that are legitimate questions, especially if Dylan DeMello is gone. There's that's sort of the biggest question. The fourth line center role and that sixth defenseman are the two biggest things that we're probably going to be talking about, probably to distraction the rest of the summer, dude.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to be scintillating talk of Rudolph's Balsters. It's going to be amazing.
All right, dude. Well, let's get into our final story, which we had our anniversary podcast, and
a lot of really nice and heartwarming comments,
yes,
I must say, from a lot of listeners, both new and long time, and we appreciate all of those. That was really neat to hear.
But one email just happened to stand out.
Right. It was a fake email. No, so we get an email that says it's from Dan Boyle. And me being a person that works in tech, for those of you that didn't know, I am instantly suspicious because anybody can make an email address that says, my name is Dan Boyle at danboyle.com or whatever. And then you send an email and say, hey, dudes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is fake. This is fake. And Doug's like, I don't think this is fake. And so
it was the content of it.
I know
that as we were reading it, I thought if someone wanted to catfish us or punk us, that they would have written something else. The way that it was written, it just wasn't.
If they wanted to punk us, it would have been a lot more incendiary. And it was actually,
meet me at 2 p.m. at the, right? Or you guys are terrible.
But really, one of the coolest things is we were able to actually verify that we got a real, legit, authentic email from the Sharks' own Dan Boyle, and that was really cool. It was surreal to get an email. Like, here we are live streaming on YouTube in my house, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one small step away from someone's basement. And we get an email from a, one of the best, if not the best defenseman in Sharks history. I mean, I think Brent Burns is pretty good, but Dan Boyle certainly on the Mount Rushmore of Sharks defensemen. And it was a really neat thing to hear from him. So
I still can't believe it. Actually,
we tip our hat to you, Dan Boyle. So that was cool.
Yeah, that certainly meant a lot. And I don't know, dude, this has been a blast, as we've said ad nauseum last week. Yeah. But when something like that happens, you just kind of shake your head and go, gosh. And it also just reaffirms what we already knew about him. We're in the bag for Dan Boyle. Everybody knows that, right?
Well understood.
But just, I mean, it's just a dude.
Yeah.
It's just a dude.
Just another guy. Yeah.
Just a dude with an email who happened to listen to that episode.
Yeah.
So pretty freaking cool, dude.
So
pretty cool.
Anyway, so I think that's it. I want to thank everybody for joining on the stream. The comment throw was really fun to read.
Awesome. Yeah, we got to do this again. We got a ton of people chiming in here. Michael will take you up on that producer offer.
Yeah. I'll pay you twice what I make.
Hey-o.
Which is to say nothing.
That's right.
But we really appreciate everybody coming on board and contributing to the discussion here today. We're going to need your help.
We're going to be in Vegas. We're going to be in Vegas next week. So look for some tweets and comments. Maybe we'll make a little video from Vegas and wish us luck on all of our wagering. Are you going to tail all of my Major League Baseball betting, dude?
Yeah, because you're so good at baseball. And I know so much about baseball,
dude.
Too.
I'm offended that you say that. Now, I completely reek at college betting.
Right.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And I can't help myself. You get a few Jack and Cokes in there and I just start betting on college basketball. You try to stop me, but I'm going to take the Oregon State Beavers.
Xavier's do, you say.
And then I just yell and scream at Lagasse Stadium.
Right.
And you laugh.
And then we bet like the over under two.
I'm going to bet Arena League football. I'm going to bet Canadian football. I'm going to bet law. I'm going to bet on tennis. I'm going to bet on golf. I'm going to bet on Japanese League baseball.
Is Wimbledon next week?
We're going to be the World Cup semis will be happening.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll have some fun, dude. Maybe even place an NHL futures bet on our San Jose Sharks.
We could.
I believe are 20 or 25 to 1.
I might do that.
$1.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and hopefully you might hear from us from Vegas. If not, shortly thereafter, we'll be back, and we'll make sure to, again, publicize the live stream, because this, I can say this is an unqualified success at this point.
Awesome, dude. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Anything else?
Let's see.
Dude
We've
from the
got.
stream?
Let's see what else we've got here from people. Sorensen is going to be a breakout player from Ponder. Gosh, you know, I think that could be true. You know, Doug, is that a Kent Huskins jersey?
Number 40.
That's
The guy
right.
gets the number 40. No,
Kent
it's
Huskins.
Mike Rathje. Actually, it says dude on the back. You weren't in the.
Oh, that's right. This is the.
It could be
40th.
Mike Rathje though.
That's right.
Any other Sharks players we know of number 40? Ken Huskins and Mike Rathje. That's all I know.
Yeah. A little parlay betting. Happy 10-year anniversary. I'm not even a Sharks fan, but this podcast makes me laugh. Thanks for doing this. Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate that. Thank you for the podcast. Jacob, this one's actually on Mike. So Mike, enjoy your trip on Doug's time. This one's on Mike. Next one is on me. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Sweet, dude. That's freaking awesome.
That's fun, huh?
Good idea.